Guys, welcome back to my booktube channel. My name is Nat and today I'm going to be doing a very long overdue wrap up because I haven't done one. I did one for April and I haven't done one for May, June or July, so that's what I'm doing today. So in June I didn't read much at all because I had my SATs in the beginning of July, so I basically just studied, and even though I did have a little time to read, I would feel guilty while reading, so I just cut reading off completely. But in the months of May and July I did read quite a bit, and that's mainly the books I'm going to be talking about. So the first book I read in May is Calendar Girl by Audrey Carlin. This book is about a girl whose father is a gambler and he goes into debt with very bad people, so she basically has to start to work as an escort, not a prostitute, an escort, to kind of repay his debt and get money for that. And basically each month, this book is the second installment, so it's April, May and June, and each month she follows a different client and establishes different kind of relationships with them. I find this it's trashy, it's erotic, it's romance, but it is trashy. But I do kind of like reading them as palate cleansers because they're quick, they're fun, and they're entertaining. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I gave the first one 3 stars, and I enjoyed this one a little bit more, I think. And whenever I want a quick and fun read, I will pick the third book up in this series. The next book I read in May is El Puzzle de Cristal by Blue Jeans. This is, as you can see, a Spanish author with a Spanish series. It's the second book in that series, and if you read Spanish, I really recommend this trilogy, and you will probably know this author. All his books are amazing. But this book, the first book in the series, is about a girl whose classmate is murdered, and she basically has to resolve what happened. And this book continues after the events of last book, which I can't talk about, but it was very entertaining too. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. I get the first one 3.54, but this one is more of a 4 than the first book because I enjoyed it quite a lot more. And yeah, I really recommend this. The next book I read is Early One Morning by Virginia Bailey. This is a historical fiction about World War II that takes place in Italy. The main character is a woman who goes out on a run one of those mornings when the war is full on, and she basically picks up a child that a mother gives her to protect him because the mother this child comes from a Jewish family and they're being taken away, and the mother wants him to have a chance at life, so she gives him to the main character, and that's basically the story of their life. I really enjoyed this. I love books about World War II. They're very informative and they're hard to read, but I love reading about them because I think it's very important to know about them, to know about what happened. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. Give it 4 stars. I had a problem with Daniel's character because I get it, but he was a bit too dramatic with everything. And Kiara, she did some very lousy decisions too, but I kind of feel their flaws made what this book is, so I really like that. If you're looking for a really informative World War II historical fiction from the perspective of Europe, this is for you. The next book I read that month is Deluxe by Anna Godberg. It's the first book in a 4-book series, and it's kind of like chick lit in the 1800s. Literally, it's Gossip Girl in the 1800s. That's all the description you need. It wasn't I can't say this is my favorite book ever or that it's good literature, but it was so entertaining and so dramatic, and I would be just laughing at some points of how ridiculous it was, but I really enjoyed it. The characters, some of them were ridiculous, some of them were great. I loved Elizabeth. I hated Penelope and Henry because they were both meant for each other in their absolute assness. They were asses, honestly, nope. But Elizabeth and Diana, I really enjoy their characters and they were really nice, and I really want to continue the series and see where it goes because it's so entertaining and quick. And also, I love these covers so much, with the dresses, they're so amazing. Gave this 3 or 4 stars, I don't remember right now, but somewhere along those lines. The next book I read in May is I Owe You One by Sophie Kinsella. If you know me, you know this is my favorite contemporary chick lit author. Anything she writes, I love, and this was no exception. This book is about a girl named Fixie who basically fixes everything, and like she got her name because she fixes everything, and she's basically always like on other people's calls. She has to always help other people, but one day she kind of meets a stranger who makes her notice that like sometimes she has to put herself first, and it's basically like that, not coming of age because she's already like in her late 20s, but like finding yourself and kind of finding your place in life, because a lot of people don't do that until later in their life, and that's not a problem. Every person gets to their place in life when they have to, not when everyone says they have to. So that's what this book is about, and I really enjoyed it, really recommend it. 5 out of 5 stars. Like, I don't have more to say about this except how amazing it is. Next book I read that month was When I Was Invisible by Dorothy Tombstone. And again, this author is my favorite author for dark adult contemporary chick lit, but like dark, like with really dark issues and things that happen. And this is basically about 2 girls that were best friends when they were little, but something terrible happened, and then they basically got 2 different paths in their life, and then they meet each other again. And one is homeless, one went to a convent, and it's kind of like unraveling what happened, why they're like this. And I just loved so much the issues and the themes that were talked about in this book and how they were talked about in it. Like, I cried a couple of times. It was so amazing. Like 5 out of 5 stars, super well deserved. I love this author. Like, every one of her books really makes me feel something. Now, the next book I finally read, like a lot of you are gonna be so happy I finally read this, and it is the Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, the first book. I hit myself. The first book in the Percy Jackson series. I finally read this. Like, I'm so proud of myself. It wasn't that big, but it just took me so long for whatever reason. But anyways, I loved this so much. 5 out of 5 stars. I can't wait to continue the series. It kind of makes me feel as happy like as Harry Potter makes me feel. It gives me those vibes, and it just makes my heart feel very warm and happy. And if you do not know what this book is about, it's about a boy named Percy who basically discovers he's a half-god, and he has to retrieve something for Zeus because it was stolen, and now chaos erupted in the Olympus, and that's what he does with his friends. And it was just so, I loved it. It was also, I loved how much information this gave you about like Greek mythology. I loved that aspect of it so much too, as well as the friendship between all of these amazing people. And Percy is bae, like, I stan him. He's a cinnamon roll. I also read at last a book that took me a month and a half to read, but that was because of my exams. It's not because of this baby. And that was Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. Yes, I finally read this. Again, this is my first Shadowhunter book or Cassie Clare book ever. I read this. I started it in June, and I literally had only 20 pages left before I had to start studying for like my exams. But I stopped, and then I finished the last 20 pages like a week ago in July, and it was like, why did you leave just 20 pages? Like, I find that so dumb. But anyways, I loved this. Like, I have no words, just Will Herondale, and Will Herondale again. I know he was a dick in this book, like a huge ass dick in this book, but I still love him so much. Like, I don't know, I'm just attracted to bad boys. It's what happens when I read these kind of books. But anyways, if you did not know what this is about, it is about Tessa, whose brother calls her to go with him to London, and there she meets very weird people called Shadowhunters. And it was just so good. Like, the plot wasn't, like, I wasn't amazed by the plot, honestly, but like the characters really made this plot so amazing. Like, if you hear the plot, it's just a villain did something and then everyone did something. But it was just like, the characters were so alive to me, and I loved them so much, and I can't wait to continue the series. Well, this trilogy, and then all of the series that come after it, because we all know the Shadowhunter world is huge. Next, for the reading rush in July, my first book was Dark Fever by Karen Marie Moning. This is the first book in a kind of paranormal romance trilogy. It was okay. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite, honestly, because like I think I read quite a lot of like paranormal and romance, like quick, easy ones. in my reading career or time. But this one, it was okay. I just feel like sometimes a lot of the events went far too quickly for my taste. And but the one thing I like, and also like the final battle, like I did not get it very much. It was very quick and it wasn't like very well explained. But one thing I really loved about this book is the setting. Like, it's set in Dublin in Ireland, and I loved how the author did that. It was so amazing to read, and just like you can imagine yourself there very well. But apart from that, like, it was your typical paranormal romance that I did not really care for, like everything else. So that's why I gave it 3 stars, but I would like to continue the series and see like if the action gets any better. The second book I read for the reading rush was Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. And this book, honestly, like, it made me think so much. This was so informative about like Japanese culture and what geisha are and like everything that surrounds them. I loved it so much. I never like informed myself or read anything like this before, so it was like such like a new world opening itself to me. And also like things that happened with World War II were in this, and again was very interesting to read it from like Japan's point of view. And just like this story, it's so like amazing, and it did go to places I expected it to go, but it was still just so like wholesome. Like, and this happened, this was shit, and we just gotta move on. But like, it was like, it made me just think so much. And I also just loved reading about geisha so much, like what they do and all this art and preparation behind them. It was so amazing. I gave 4 stars, and I really recommend this if you're interested. And there's also like an amazing movie that I watched straight after reading this. The movie is also, it's like 2 hours and a half, which nowadays is a very long movie, but it was so worth it, and it was so faithful to the book, like amazing. After that, I read my third and final book for the reading rush, which is My Sister's Keeper by Jodi Picoult. And this was a reread for me. I read this book a few years ago and really enjoyed it. And again, enjoyed it this time, but like a little less because I already know what happened in the end. But this book is about a girl named Kate who has cancer, and basically her parents had her sister genetically engineered and born to match as a donor for her in every possible way. And one day, like, this other child, Anna, decides to sue her parents so they can't take any more body parts from her or like blood or anything. And that's where like kind of disaster ensues, because like her parents can't believe how she could do that, but she just wants like over with it, and it's this whole legal affair. The end really surprised me. Like, again, like I knew what happened, but I still was like, how could this happen? Like, even the first time when I was reading it, I was like, there's no way like I could have ever anticipated the end happening. It just blew my mind so much. Again, 5 out of 5 stars. I loved this so much, really recommend it. And the movie, I haven't seen it whole yet. I started watching it today. The movie is also amazing. Next book is The Help by Catherine Stockett. The book is about like a white woman in the 1960s and black maids, and basically how society was in Mississippi, Jackson, and how society was in that time. And again, also this was so very eye-opening, and especially like with the Black Lives Matter movement now, I really wanted to inform myself more about how things happen, and this book really helped me to do that. And basically it follows 3 people, one white woman named Skeeter, and 2 black maids named Minnie and Abilene. And they basically like write together a book that goes about like what happens with black maids and their white employers, and how this book came to be, what happened. And it was so informative. Like, I can't say this was the best book ever, like I loved it, but I just really liked how the author really was able to make 3 different voices for 2 very different types of people, like white people, a white person, and 2 black maids in that time, which was very tricky and also brave on her part, because it's very hard. Like, it's very easy to do it the wrong way and rub people the wrong way, but I really liked how she did it. I haven't seen the movie yet. I really want to watch it. I gave it 4 stars, and I really recommend this if you're looking for something to read. that's about the black, not about the Black Lives Matter movement, but like really informs you about it. And even though the author isn't black, I still think it's a very important read. The next book I read in July is I Tell You I Love You But Then I Have to Kill You by Ali Carter, and this is the first book in the Gallagher Girls series. It's basically about a girl named Cammy who goes to a spy school, like a secret spy school, and she falls in love and she doesn't know how to like join those two lives together. And because the boy is kind of like normal of the town and knows nothing about his school of spies or about spies, so she basically like kind of tries to join those two worlds together. I liked this. It was quick and fun, but I didn't find much substance to it. I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars, which sounds terrible, but it's literally only half. Like, it's actually 5 out of 10. Like, it wasn't bad. I do want to continue the series, but I want to see if it like gives it a bit more substance. Because while it didn't read very middle grade, like it didn't read very young, but the things that happened made it sound young. I don't know if I'm explaining myself. I like this. Like, if you have a younger teenager, I really recommend this. If you're an adult who loves to read middle grade, I'd also recommend this. Last book I read in July is Second Chance Summer by Morgan Madsen. This book I honestly haven't finished completely, like I'm so much through this one or the next book yet when I'm filming this, but I will today. Like, I'm gonna finish this and the next book today. And this book is about a girl who used to go and have summers in like Phoenix in her lake house away from her normal house, and she basically did something 5 summers ago terrible to her friends that were there, and she doesn't want to go back, but since her father has cancer, they want to go back and spend the last summer like together as a family, and she basically gets a second chance to do everything over. So far, like, I can't tell you my final opinions yet, but so far I'm really enjoying this. It goes by super quick. It's really like fun and light so far. Like, even with the whole cancer thing, it's been quite light so far, and I'm really excited to see how this ends. I do recommend it so far. I do really like it. Second to last book that I'm currently reading here and I'm about to finish is Winter by Marissa Meyer, the last book in the Lunar Chronicles. I love this series. I love this book. I just don't want it to finish. Like, it's a thick book. Like, it doesn't look like it, but this is 800 pages. Like, I'm not kidding you. It's, if you can see that, it's 800 freaking pages. It's huge. It just doesn't look huge, but I've been savoring every moment of it. I don't want this to end. Like, I need this in my life. I still have Stars Above to read, which is the like collection of short stories that come after this book, but still, like, I love this. 5 out of 5 stars. Like, I don't even have to think about it. These characters, Cinder, Winter, Scarlet, Wolf, who am I not saying? Cress, Thorn, Kai, like, everybody is my baby. Jason, even. Jason's a bitch, but I love him so much. And oh my god, like, these characters are my life. Like, if you have read this, please comment down below and let's rave about it. Like, I love this so much. I don't want to finish it, but I do, but I don't. It's very bittersweet, and just look at this cover. Look at it. It's beautiful. Like, if you haven't heard the series, like, you need to step on. It's sci-fi. It's based on fairy tales. Like, every book is based on fairy tale. This book is based off of Snow White. The first book is Cinder, based off Cinderella. The second book is Scarlet, based off of Little Red Riding Hood. The third book is called Crest, and it's based off Rapunzel, and it's so amazing. Like, oh, I need everyone to read this and rave about it with me. So anyways, guys, that's all I read these 3 months. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you will talk to me about any of these in the comments. I hope you have had such amazing reading months, and that you're doing well and you're safe and healthy, and I will see you guys next time.